We are the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association.
We are the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association.
Business in Pennsylvania.
And business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Question number 1 from Philadelphia, Governor. I don't think you had to put much research into this because we've talked about it on the show
before.
For
Philadelphia or for the state?
This is, no, for this question.
For this one, yeah, my question says from Philadelphia, but she talked about
she's talking about the state.
Right.
Yeah, she's talking about the state.
Okay.
Because we've already
I want to make sure we're on the same page here.
We've already talked about the school budget for Philadelphia. But Gina in Philadelphia wrote in, I know that you have explained that the state is spending more on education and that the cuts were the result of the stimulus funding ending. Can you please provide and explain the numbers?
Well, you know, my lieutenant governor said something last week that the statements out there that we cut education, you continue to see them in all the ads from the other side and all the interest groups on the other side saying he cut education. I think he called it a damn lie. And I agree with him because you got to look at the facts. If people look at the facts, you're going to understand. So I'm going to go slowly through the numbers. In 2008-9, the prior administration, state-supported public education totaled of the schools, public schools, $9.14 billion. In the following year, 9-10, the prior administration cut state support to $8.68 billion and used $654 million of federal funding, stimulus money, one-time shovel-ready money, to replace and to artificially inflate school funding. In 2010 and 11, the same administration further reduced the state support to $8.56 billion and used $1 billion in federal funding to replace state dollars.
And that was the budget you inherited.
And that was the budget that came in that I inherited in January the 18th until June the 30th. Our first year, 11-12, my first budget increased the state support to $9.07 billion. But the federal money was gone. So if you can erase that out of there, you understand that it does come down. In 12-13, we further increased the state support to $9.49 billion. In this fiscal year, our increase is to $9.74 billion. In 13-14, $9.74 billion. And now in 14 and 15, state support has increased to $10.04 billion. Do the math.
And you alluded to it leading into it. One of the big questions, one of the big debates in this election season is what constitutes a cut. And
that's exactly right. Yeah. If you want to call it a cut, it's a cut of federal funds that are no longer there, not a cut of state funds. So in my administration, during my time, we've increased support for public schools by $1.5 billion.
Let's move to Glenn from Whitehall. Glenn writes in, should the state reevaluate the requirements for becoming a constable in the state of PA? There are many questions about the shooting of a man whose only crime seems to be unpaid parking tickets. Constables involved opened fire on a car backing out of a garage without once knocking on the door. That's not good police work. This is a story that, I don't remember the exact date, last month. It occurred in Whitehall. And there is an investigation now as to the justifiability, if there is one, for that shooting. So the question about requirements for constables, it's an elected position in Pennsylvania. What are your thoughts?
Well, when I was chairman of the Commission on Crime and Delinquency for 8 years under Governor Ridge's administration, one of the things we took a look at was the whole constable issue, the Constable Training Board and so forth. And we really required a great deal more training, certification of the constables who are hired as assistant constables or deputy constables, rather, and by the person who was elected. So we've tried to raise the standards, and the Constables Board is working on doing that. And constables serve a legitimate purpose because they serve the papers for the courts a lot of times that either deputy sheriffs or police officers doing much more in the way of law enforcement activities would be required to do.
And that can be a dangerous situation.
And it can be a dangerous situation. That's exactly right. In fact, I remember we lost 2 deputy sheriffs up in I think Bradford County, when I was Attorney General, who were serving arrest warrants on an individual who came out shooting and killed them both. And obviously, sad day for everybody up in that community. So it is a dangerous job, and you have to make sure that the deputy constables as well as the constable are trained. I don't know whether there's a willingness in the legislature to make any changes at this point in time. I'm sure we'll wait and see what the results of the investigation are in this, and have to wait and see what comes of it.